Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Master Deemo back at it here again for another tier list, and today we'll be doing the ultimate weapon solo tier list. If you guys haven't watched my first tier list, I'll have a short introduction. Basically, I'm a Worlds player. I was rank 1 CE representative last year, 22 Worlds, and I also competed on the Naraka Bladepoint Pro League. Let's continue on. Move on to the tier list. Starting with the greatsword. The greatsword currently is in D tier. It is the weakest weapon currently for solos, and that's mainly because it's just really slow. Anything that's slow in this game in general is really weak because of the fact that in solos you're gonna do a lot of movements. The movement in this game is really fast paced, and once you get to learn movement, you'll be zooming around everywhere. It doesn't have enough movesets that help it fight 1v1 and catch your opponents. It doesn't have any tech chase that's really decent. Although you can get cheesed, the new players will probably struggle if you find this weapon because you can just clash, just spam. Once you guys get better and better, it's really slow, and you guys can easily learn it. Yeah, great sword will be D tier, and we'll be going to spears. Spear is currently C tier. Not really strongest weapon, not as slow as great sword. Some focus attacks is really slow and easily punishable, so it really lacks on better focus attacks. Although its light attacks are not the worst, the focus attacks for this weapon it's just not the best. That's why it's going to be in C tier. Moving on to longsword, we'll be putting longsword to B tier. It's an okay weapon. It's not bad, but it's not the best either. If you play it correctly, it has some really good light attacks that you can go into reads for, and you can deal absolute insane damage if you hit like an RMB, and you can confirm that into a true combo. Although the main problem with this weapon is somewhat similar to spear. Its focus attacks are not also the best. It's really easy reactable. It looks strong, but like once you get used to it, it's really easily tap dodgeable, and that's a huge problem. You want like a weapon that can function both light attacks and focus attacks. But yeah, that's why your longsword will be in B tier. And our next weapon coming up will be katana. Katana used to be like a really strong weapon back in the day, back in the older seasons, but because of new weapon releases, it's become weaker and weaker, it's getting surpassed by new weapons, and this is understandable, meta changes. But it's still not the worst weapon. It is a playable weapon, it's an okay weapon. We'll be putting it in B tier. The reason why it's in B tier, not as like longsword or spear where it has like a weak focus attack, but it's more of both its light attack and its focus attacks are lacking. It's not really that weak or that slow, it's just lacking compared to the weapons we'll be covering for later, which has like basically much more improved movesets compared to katana. So for katana, light attacks, it's pretty okay. Not the fastest, not the slowest, it's pretty just mediocre. But it's okay if you play it well. I would say this weapon's a bit of a higher skill cap. If you know how it works, you can still use it. It's still a pretty okay weapon. For the most weapons, this LMB is really hard to hit, and for some reason it's not clean. People can crouch out of it, so that's a problem. They're in a form where they can just like be in a crouching situation, like you'll just miss it a lot of the time. And moving to this focus attacks actually not that bad, but as I said, quite mediocre compared to other weapons. This is why it's currently B tier. And moving on to polesword. But polesword is an interesting weapon. It's basically the upgraded version of greatsword. Yeah, they did pretty well for this weapon. It's actually pretty damn good for 1v1. Overall, this improved version of greatswords. We'll be putting it on A tier. Not quite S. Reason is because although it's 1v1, it's much more better than greatswords. It still has the same problem, chasing people. It's not really the easiest if you're using a heavy weapon like polesword, as it's really slow. But if you pair this up with the characters like maybe Vala or Tarka while you're using your ult as Tarka, in instance you're really fast and you can really just spam the weapon, or like if you're using Vala F1, you can really vibe with the weapon and do insane combos. And F1 for Vala is basically where you entrap people with your bubble and they're stuck there for a long time, and you just do like some insane combo or like drop an insane focus attack. But yeah, anyways, overall 1v1 pretty insane. It's a pretty scary weapon. It can just literally one-shot you. Yeah, not quite S tier because it's still pretty slow, but okay weapon nature. It's deserving of A tier. Much more improved than great swords. Moving on to staff. Really great weapon. One of the newer weapons released. It's pretty good. We'll be placing it in S tier. Basically similar to great swords, an improved version of spear. The weapon's movement is really insane when you can just like double charge basically your staff and you are able to mini dash twice, and it's pretty insane. And if you do connect first dash, which is a focus attack, you can get a true combo. If you know your grapple combos, you could even prolong and make more damage. It's just a pretty insane weapon overall. That's why it goes to S tier. Aside from having like decent focus attacks, decent light attacks, insane movement, that's what makes this weapon take the S tier spots. And moving on to the actual latest like newest weapon in the game, which is dual halberds. So actually maybe we should start with dual blades first, since it is a upgraded version. So let's try with dual blade first. Dual blades basically will be putting in S tier, although it already has an upgraded version. It's still really good. You should not sleep on this weapon, guys. Like, even if you get it, honestly, you can either use this or dual halberds. Is still pretty much insane. A pretty good weapon. If you get jades for it, it's even better. And yeah, just great focus attacks overall, great tech chase for the slide attacks. Yeah, what makes this weapon really shine is really fast. You can really overwhelm your opponents. Fast weapons are usually what's the best for solos. It's just harder for you to react. That's why it's S tier weapon. Let's move on to dual halberds. Yeah, the newest weapon. I said earlier, the latest weapon that's released and is the upgraded version of dual blades. It's also going to be an S tier, similar to dual blade. It is an insane weapon. Actually, it has greater focus attacks compared to dual blade, so you can say it is slightly better or better in general compared to dual blades. But as I said, with the right jades, dual blades can still be pretty insane. But yeah, in terms of like just having it raw without jades, dual halberds might be slightly better because of it's changed the LMB focus attacks where you can just like dash and just launch your opponent up. It just provides insane damage and it's good neutral when you hit the focus attack. And yeah, same thing as dual blade's pretty fast weapon. Yeah, that's why it's a S tier weapon. Moving on to nunchucks. Yeah, nunchucks is also a pretty great weapon. Also an S tier actually. Yeah, it's good that we have a lot of S tier weapons. I would say like our weapons are more balanced in a way that we have more variety weapons that we can actually use much more compared to like characters in the game. But yeah, nunchucks being an S tier reason is because one of the best, or honestly the best tech-based weapon in the game. And what that means basically, the weapon is just really good at chasing people, locking people down because of how accurate its light attacks are made to be. The movesets are just really good. So you can really easily catch people when they're running around. LMB can easily catch people crouching, whether they're crouching or not, you can still catch them. And RMB, if you want to be in a safer use a safer choice, it just tracks down people so much easier. The moveset is just really fast, really fast attacks, and aside from that, it has great focus attacks. Overall, focus attacks, insane tech chase is what makes the weapon really amazing. As I said, you could call it the best tech chase weapon in the game. Moving on to the final weapon for the melee weapons, which is dagger. After a bit of testing of dual halberds and dagger, at least for now, I can comfortably say that dagger is still the best weapon for solos, for melee. It's insane. The moment this weapon got released, it has always been the strongest weapon up till now. Like, I thought dual halberds would finally like just take over, but no, I was wrong. Dagger is just so good. It still just beats any other weapon. It's not the best for tech chase, but the weapon is insane for 1v1 just because of the reason that it does have its special dash mechanic. Out of all the weapons, it's the only weapon that has a dash mechanic. Every time you get a clash or like just, you know, get a hit with your weapon using dagger, you can do a special dash which only it has, and you can immediately go into a 50-50. You can either do a focus attack or like eye attack. It's just really fast. Like the moment you just clash, you just get a 50-50 basically really fast, and it just puts on a lot of pressure on your opponents, and you just have more options playing this weapon in 1v1. And aside from that, right, the weapon is insane. It's as good as staff. And running away, when you have this weapon and you're running away and you're properly using your skill rushes, you are almost unkillable if you play right. Like, it's insane. Aside from being insane in 1v1, it's also one of the most annoying weapons to deal with when you're chasing it, because the way its movesets are made just makes it so that it's just really good for running away, and at the same time, really insane for 1v1s. Similar to dual halberds LMB, it has a ranged focus attack. It's a ranged focus attack, so even if you cap dodge that, if they just time it properly, you will still get hit because it's ranged. And overall, you know, light attacks, special dash, movement, focus attacks, insane running capabilities. That's why it's an S tier weapon and is still the best weapon in the game for solos. It's just insane. Moving on to, forgot what we call this weapon. I think it's a Bladepoint or something. But yeah, basically you get this from time to time from a chest around end game. I'm not gonna lie, it's just kind of like a for fun weapon, wherein it's like you can just like use it and like go around, and I think you're gonna be blue focus or something, and you can just go around and run around and like make it spin, and like you can just hit people that if they get hit they can kind of get stun locked, but like, you know, in game you have your F and it's really easily dodgeable. They can't really jump too high with it, they can just run around with it and just easily outmaneuver being top of the house. It's pretty useless to be honest, but if you're like in the lower elo, you'll probably get hit by this at least once and you're probably gonna be like, what the fuck, that's broken. But trust me, once you get better running away, like just come top of the house, just jump over it. It's really, really bad. More of like a just for fun type of weapon. But yeah, that will be it for the melee weapon tier list.